Welcome to the 5th episode of StreamCast with me, James Rutherford, also known as Charizard James on Twitch and other social media platforms, where we take a deep dive into the lives of all your favorite streamers and content creators. Join with us today is the amazing content creator, Rats Relyk. Take a minute to introduce yourself.
Well, thanks, Charizard James. I'm Rats Relyk, or how some just found out in chat earlier, my name's Kyler Starr. I stream Magic the Gathering and Marbles on Stream, and I think we got a pretty exciting podcast coming up. I'm really excited. I know that.
Oh, for sure. So I want to talk about something first and foremost, okay? This is something I didn't know and it actually blew my mind. What is the origin story behind your name, Rats Relyk? Does that have anything to do with rats?
So I'm going to go on lots of tangents today, and we'll just dive right into it. As a kid, I was kind of quiet, and I spent a lot of time in class, like middle school, high school, not socializing that much, and so I just drew on paper a lot, and especially during social studies, because I tuned out in that class, and I drew, and so I just thought, if I just write my name backwards, it's kind of cool. So I liked alliterations, and I was a mathy guy, so anything that had some like patterns and stuff like that, that's kind of where it came from, and it's always just kind of stuck with me through little parts in my life. And then when I started streaming, I thought that was a good idea. I used to have like an email that was like ratsrelyk@gmail, and my Twitter now is ratsrelyk at Twitter. So it just, I was like, yeah, why not? It's
Yeah, it's
and then the five head, like you said, the five head moments where people are like, oh.
And before the podcast started, and the stream started, I had that same moment because I have known about you, Rats Relyk, for a while, ever since I started streaming, which is about 5 months now, and I was like, oh, it's a cool name. He probably likes rats, or it's incorporated in the stream somewhere. I don't really know what Relic means, but it's probably some kind of Nordic last name, And then I just found out right before this that, and I've also known that your name was Kyler Starr from Twitter and things like that. So, but I just never put it together. Besides, right before this podcast, and I had a huge oh my goodness moment. Is this really happening right now? But yeah, it's crazy.
That's perfect. I don't like rats at all, but it's kind of funny because when we're playing games and stuff, I have a good friend back when we played in person a while ago, that whenever we were playing, like just on the table and something happened, even if he wasn't playing me, I could just hear him go, oh, rats. I just laugh because he still does it. I love it.
Do you think he's calling you? You're like, wait, what?
Sometimes if I'm like in the same room or on the same stream or something, I'll like make some funny emotes because it's just yeah.
I can imagine your stream making memes about like the magic card ravenous rats and things like that, or what other kind of rat there is. There's a rat that you can have a billion of them in your deck. You can just fill your whole deck with the one card. Is that ravenous rats, or is that a different rat?
Jeez. Well, that one sucks. But I don't know what I can't remember.
Rat Colony.
Rat Colony. Thank you. That one is not very good. But Pack Rat, and I play a lot of Cube. Pack Rat is actually pretty good. So that could be a possible first pick when you're Cube drafting.
Now I know what to steal from you in the Cube draft. If you're right next to me and there's Pack Rat in my opening pack, if I let that go.
Yeah. Honestly, I would definitely take that as a first or second or third pick in a pack. It's very strong.
Well, it goes with your name, so you have to. You don't even have a choice. I mean, it's strong, but if there's a Progenitus in the pack as well, you're just going for the Pack Rat because it's on brand. We might talk about that today. No. So let's talk about your streaming story. What were you thinking before you started streaming? Why did you start streaming? And talk about your streaming story from the start of it, how long you've been streaming, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I started streaming in December of 2018, but my kind of point that I really measure from is January 2019. From when I like hit that affiliate status, So right at the beginning of 2019. So it started a little bit before then. Actually, I'm going to pull it back just even farther. The wifey and I took a couple years off of normal life, and we went and did a bunch of traveling and hiking between the years of 2015 and 17 about, and just like completely stopped whatever we were doing, work, life, all that stuff, and traveled a bit. And so I stopped playing Magic, and that was kind of the end of my pseudo competitive Magic playtime, was 2015. And then when we came back, because let me be clear, we were traveling, hiking, backpacking, hostel traveling, South America, Central America, and Appalachian Trail. And you can't play Magic. Well, you can play Magic on your phone starting, yesterday? But at that time, you couldn't play Magic on your phone. So I had to figure out another avenue to fill that itch. And I started watching Hearthstone and playing Hearthstone on my phone because I just didn't have Magic. So from 2015 to 2018 or so, I watched and played a lot of Hearthstone. But when I came back in 2018 and we started to settle down, we ended up getting married in 2018. And so I was looking at kind of slowing down the amount of Magic and traveling that was in my life. So as a result of that, I picked up a PC. I didn't have one before. And my friend, the same one who would say rats from the other room, kept bugging me to try this thing called Arena. And I was like, I don't like starting new things. No, I'm not going to do it. And he bugged me long enough finally. And in the fall of 2018, I started to play Arena on that computer. And Laura helped me out, and we had some conversations around this because I love teaching. We'll get to that. I teach, and I love playing Magic, just games in general, but it's one of the best ones. And so her and I talked about, why don't I stream or do this for more of a community feel and teach people, essentially. And so in December 2018, I started. Holy cow, what a wild ride and a start, and everything that's gone through from then until now. Just to start, as a very new streamer in 2018, knowing nothing, and let's be clear, I didn't have any streaming experience before, never played any other games really. I just played Magic. I didn't play, video games that much, as much as many others with like WoW and Dota and all sorts of other games. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I watched YouTube videos, and I picked the best things I was supposed to do. Like I was smart, like I was a teacher and I had a master's degree. I knew what I should do, and I put time and effort in to get it started. And the big things that I learned from all that research was consistency, time, and not giving up. And making connections. If you're a new streamer, consistency with a schedule, time to put in, which is a lot. Not giving up, and then making connections with other streamers. And so in the month of December, I spent a lot of time in the chat of Amazonian, Alias V, and WaifuGate. Those were like my three go-to Magic streamers that I actually really enjoyed, and made connections in those three channels. I set a schedule for myself. I purposely started in December because college semester where I live, doesn't have school between the winter break. So I had a ton of time during that winter break between the college semesters. So I set a very regular schedule, and I would just stream. And Laura would just be like, where is he? And I would just stream. Because that was the one thing. Like if you're on for an hour or 3 hours in a night, how do you get new folks into your stream, right? There's just not enough exposure, especially if you don't have a social media presence or a previous following. So this is a long-winded start to my streaming career, as you can hear. On January 1st, or actually it was just before then, December 31st, WaifuGate rated me with over 500 and something people. And so I have to give WaifuGate 100% of my credit for kicking off my Twitch stream. It was amazing. I mean, I really enjoyed his community already, and I talked and was engaged in his community. And so it kind of happened how you would hope it to happen, in that I got lucky. And he was scrolling, and I still have the clip. I've saved it, and I went back and watched the end of his stream where he rated me, and he was just scrolling Twitch, and he gets down to the bottom, which where I was at 7 viewers, and he's like, "Oh, Rats, he hangs out in my chat. Let's go raid him." And that was it. And he just clicked raid, and instantly I hit affiliate in that day because, well, 500 people. So
Wow.
And yeah, right. So, and I mentioned this before the podcast started, but I really hope you get Waifu on there. I have no idea where he's at now, but great guy. And just to be able to, build his own personal streaming community, to be open to helping other people in such a way like that is amazing. Like, as a streamer and connecting with so many other streamers, there's a great positive network amongst streamers. However, there is still subtle undercurrents of trying to only move up, and that can shed a negative light on rating down, let's say. And so him doing that was huge. So that's when it started, really, January 2019. And since then, it's been pretty awesome. Just continuing on. I would stream a couple days a week as much as I could. In the summer of 2019, I joined Team Aether Hub. At that time, there was only maybe like 20 people on that team. Now it's huge. But that was a pretty big boost as well. And then it kind of like plateaus and goes up at points in the year. And so since then, it's just, I don't know, it's just it's a ride, I guess.
That's awesome. Wow. I've had a slightly similar experience with that. On my third day ever streaming, I was not affiliate yet. A similar situation as well. I thought to myself one day, you know what? I'm playing this game for 5 hours a day anyway. I mean, why don't I just stream it? I'm already watching streams. I think I have a good personality. I can connect with people. I'm a people person. I'm just gonna fire up a stream. So I streamed with nothing. I streamed with no webcam. The only interaction I could have with people was typing into my own chat. And the only person watching me was my dad and like one of my in real life friends. And on my third day of streaming, I got raided by Chris Kavartek.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. like a couple hundred people. And I was like, holy crap. And I was like, I don't know what I did to like get this, but thank you so much. Oh my gosh. And I just got super nervous, started sweating. How do I deal with all these people? My chat. Oh my gosh, my chat. When I first started, it's my third day. And I asked him why he rated me, and he told me that we had a great conversation in his chat. And he was scrolling down and saw me and was like, oh, I had a great conversation with this guy. And he's streaming? Let's rate him. And I think people overlook that. Just connecting with people in people's streams. Don't do it maliciously. Don't do it like, oh, I'm gonna connect with this streamer so that they'll know I'm streaming and like mention my stream in their chat and be all and be all, I'm gonna be sneaky about it. They're never gonna know, and then I'm gonna mention streaming like kind of in their chat. Like if you've been streaming for a while, like what they're doing, and I had a couple hiccups with that as well. I would genuinely connect with a streamer, kind of like Chris Kavartek, and then there was one time I was in someone's chat and I like mentioned my stream, but it wasn't for like, I wasn't like, oh hey guys, check out my stream tonight. I mentioned it, and
Yeah.
but and then after that, I kind of like felt bad about it. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want people to, like, people are enjoying this stream. Like, I don't want people to like feel like I'm like kind of wanting their viewers or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to put that plug there.
Yeah,
But for any new streamer, like you should make that connection, but it should be more of a genuine connection.
right.
Like you're saying, like find people that you bounce off really well with
Mm-hmm.
and follow and actually talk to those people. That's yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, if the other
Oh,
streamer, yeah, go ahead.
I got another starting off streaming, and this is not something that applies to everyone. It only applies to bald men. I would change your look as soon as you start. So, and I'm putting this out. All my viewers have been around for a long time, and I don't care anymore. But the reason why I started streaming with a hat, so I only streamed with a hat for the first 2 years. Actually, this is only since the beginning of January this year.
I noticed.
I had a baseball cap for December, and I also didn't have glasses. These are blue light glasses. But I started streaming and I had a baseball cap because who wants to watch a bald guy with no glasses on? Like you don't want to watch me. Come on. Unless I'm making faces all day, you don't want to watch me. I'm serious. I don't know what it is, but it's a social thing. So I started my stream with a hat on, and I had that for the longest time. And then about 6 months after starting, I was at JC Penney one day, and I was just or no, it was about a year. Sorry, a year after streaming with the same baseball cap, which had started to give me like a rash and same old baseball hat. I was at JC Penney and I saw two hats. And I saw this like weird, I don't even know what you call these things, this thing, and like a cowboy hat. And I put it in my Discord and I said, all right, you guys choose which hat are we gonna buy? And Pancake Hat, yeah, the driver's cap.
Pancake hat.
And they chose this one, and I rocked this for about a year for all of 2020 actually. And then the full, I mean, I got some blue light glasses after we went into lockdown and COVID and stuff because I was staring at a screen all the time and teaching this way now. And I felt in January that, you know what, the glasses can be good enough substitutes for the hat. And I just said, let's just do it. And so that's the look now. I kind of think it is interesting to have a look of some sort if you're a streamer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was my advice for going back to the beginning. That was my advice for bald streamers that start.
Talk about day one of no hat.
Ooh, okay. So I had to do it. Yeah, Lizard in chat right there. Lizard says it. So I had to make it. I had to make it a community thing. I wasn't gonna just let it off and just run with it. Diet Mountain Lightning. I was going to make it kind of influenced by the community, and so I had a channel points redemption in my community. They're called pickle points because of the emote. But I had a channel points redemption of 100,000 pickle points to stream for 5 minutes without the hat. That was it, 5 minutes without the hat. And of course, I had one of my mods, Dr. Awesome, redeem that at some point in the stream. And so we took it off and we went for it. I actually put a timer on. And luckily, my community is so awesome and positive, and we build each other up quite a lot. I only had good things to say. I mean, I had the random folks that were like, but mostly they were like, actually, you look pretty good without the hat. So, just keep it. And for the next like 3 streams afterwards, I would do like a hat stream and then like no hat and then a hat and then no hat. And then I was just like, let's just cut it. Mm-hmm. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Just go for it. And so that person, Dr. Awesome, I attribute my no hat streams now to him kicking it off with that 100,000 pickle points.
That reminds me of the first episode of StreamCast when I talked to DZ and I said, what is the origin story of your floating head? Because
He's
he has the full green suit and it goes all the way around his head and everything, and like all his arms are just all full green suit. So all you see on stream is just his face. And so what's the origin of that? And he said, I had a channel points reward for however many tens of thousands of points, and someone redeemed it, and they did it for one time, and he's like, wow, my viewership actually grew a lot when I was wearing the green suit. All right, I'm gonna try it again. And then he did it again, and then he went like what you did. He went like one day with it on, and then one day without it, one day with it, and he noticed that it was a huge gap of whenever he wore it, he had so many more viewers, and the chat was more engaged and everything like that. So he was like, well, I just did it every day at that point.
Yeah, I love what DZ did with that, and I think that's phenomenal. He's a great streamer, by the way, hilarious. So his costume and the way he does it it's great. If something works, keep going with it.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't even go along with streaming. It's like in real life. If something works, like expound on what works. If something works for you, whether it's fashion or you're a type of vibe that you give off, or personality or anything like that, if something like really works and you're really happy with it, or people respond to it really well, focus on your strengths and don't accentuate your weaknesses. Focus on what you're good at. You know, just like teaching for you. How did you get into teaching actually?
Oh, okay. So teaching and Cube. Let's talk about those two because those are two of my like loves.
Let's do it.
So I so in college, I enjoyed math, and I started my career my first year doing like computer science, and then after one semester, I was like, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. So let's just take math classes because I like them and they're fairly easy to me. So I just took a lot of math classes throughout college. And then my senior year, it seemed like the best course of action would just be to go to grad school for math.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't get in. So I applied to some grad schools my first year and didn't get in. And so I decided to hike the Appalachian Trail. And so I just like took off for 6 months and hiked in the woods along the east coast of the U.S. From Maine to Georgia, and then reapplied to grad school the next year and got in. And so I went for a master's in math. I actually did not get a master's in teaching. That's a totally different thing. I just went for pure math with the thought that I would go on to get a PhD or teach at a college. And so after 2 years, I got a master's in math and stopped. I was like, PhD math is like this crazy competitive atmosphere. I'm good. I'll just stop because what I actually enjoy is teaching. So I stopped after 2 years and started working at a couple local colleges in the Burlington, Vermont area. And so I enjoy it. And it's interesting. I'm just like this as a teacher too. I'm very animated, and since I've been teaching, I started in 2010 or so. 2012 is when everything kind of started or kicked off, let's say. COVID kind of threw everything for a loop and has had many teachers kind of twisting their ways and figuring out different things that can work. And it's funny because I was a streamer at that point, and so I just said, okay, well, this is what you should do, guys. And
you're the expert now.
Yeah, just you make your students talk in the chat, address them, be a responsible adult and acknowledge what they say in the chat, just like you would do streaming, connect with them that way. And also you need to make it engaging. If you are not making your virtual learning experiences engaging, it's even more easy for someone to just, go watch Twitch on the side, or Discord or anything. So you have to be engaging, which is tough. So since this whole thing started in the fall, or in the summer, I guess, I've moved everything online, and I'm still online for this semester because it just works really well for me. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't actually know what my future with teaching will be, but for now, I'm just enjoying teaching each semester at the colleges I teach at, and right now I'm teaching calc. It's either calc or stats is what I usually teach.
And how does that relate to cubing? Or not only does that how it relate to it, but how did
Yeah.
it lead into that?
So cubing, so the two things that I really enjoy doing are teaching and cubing. I mean, magic and streaming are in there as well, but when they actually are related. So when I went to grad school is when my not more competitive, but the most competitive I was in magic was around the years of 2009 to 2014, and that kind of overlapped my time as a grad student. And cubing was a big part of that because I would host cube events. And so big shout out to the local game stores, Braps Magic and Quarterstaff Games, where I was living, would let me host these cube events where players could come in, pay $10 to enter a cube event, and then they would get prizes from the store. And I had a 16-player 100% proxied cube, powered proxied cube.
Wow.
That I managed, and I would edit cards and I built myself. It was awesome, and it was so much fun. And cubing is a way for Magic players to get all aspects of the game. You can get the limited experience, the drafting, you can get the deck building, you can play with powerful cards just like standard or historic would have, or if we're powered cube, you can play with mocks and vintage cards. And then you get the competitive side because you're trying to win and you have to challenge yourself in very new puzzles where you play standard, historic, and arena, or even modern. You have kind of a set group of opponents that you're going to play against, where in cube it's going to change every round, and so you have to better yourself through that process. And also there's not much at stake. We're not playing like $300 tournaments in cube. We're just putting a couple bucks in and playing some cube. And how that's relating to my stream now, I actually stream almost exclusively cube on my stream through Arena. So it's pretty cool. And I host these cube tournaments every couple Sundays, every 2 Sundays actually, where those are hosted by me. I host them, and viewers and other streamers join in these events, and we run 16 players in 2 different cube pods, and they have to battle it out to make it to the final and the trophy. It's extremely fun. I love building cubes because you're just taking a whole bunch of cards and seeing this. I mean, if you think of like some crazy math movies where the things are like falling from this, like everything's moving around.
The numbers are floating. The numbers and equal signs and square roots are floating around your head.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine that when you're building a cube, you're just thinking about, oh, if I add this card, how does that interact with this card? And you got this big chain of interactions. How many giants or angels should I add to this cube? Is that a stable number, or is it too low? Will you get any synergies? I got to make sure my 1-drops in white and red hit a certain threshold to keep the control decks in check. It's actually something I really enjoy doing. And then we actually get to play it. And all the cubes are built for Arena, which is sweet because now... Sorry, I talk so much.
No, it's okay. This is what this is for. We're here to learn about you.
So before, we would sit down and we would play 1 cube event in like 4 hours at a local game store. And there's organization that goes into that. There's a lot of shuffling. There's a lot of, pickup afterwards. And that was when I was hosting them. So that would take like a night. Afterwards, when we came back from the travels and we were settled down a little bit more, I made a smaller cube built for 2 to 4 players because at that age, I couldn't get 8 people together to actually come and cube in person. So it was built for a smaller group, which was a lot of fun, and we'll hope to continue that if we can, because it's a great thing to do with a smaller number of people. But now on Arena and having cubes built with a custom cube list that we can draft, off of Arena and import our decks into Arena, we can run through a cube in like 3 hours, maybe less, and we can run multiple cubes. Like there's no downtime. It's actually phenomenal. Like it's perfect.
I have a similar. I have a nice cube story as well. But I used to cube Yu-Gi-Oh. But before I do that, and my brother had his own cube. Before I talk about that, we have a question. Where did the term cube come from? If you know where it came from.
Ooh, I don't. Tell me.
I don't think I know where the term cube came from either. But that will be a point of research for me after this.
Yeah, let's see if we'll leave that there. See if chat can pick up on that.
Yeah, we'll leave that in there. What is the
us.
origin of the reason why it's called a cube? Maybe it has something to do with how many players are playing in it or something. But I'm gonna go to a little bit of my story and how I cubed. My little brother, he's a couple years younger than me, made a Yu-Gi-Oh cube, and I have a background of playing Yu-Gi-Oh competitively and played on a professional team and things like that before I got into Magic. And when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, we had almost the exact same thing. Where we had a cube of like 4 people, then we increased the amount of cards. Can we get 6 people? Can we get 8 people? We eventually had a cube that was 8 people with more people wanting to play. We had to kick people out of it. But I really liked how we came to decisions of what archetype do we want in this cube? What type of decks do we want to be available? How many graveyard synergies do we want to have? How many hand disruption synergies do we want to have? How many cards do we want to directly go with other cards?
Yeah.
And if it and also as a limit to that, what is too powerful? What is one card with another card? What is that overpowered in this one cube? Because do you set different rule sets in your cubes, or do you have like the same Magic rules? Because I know in Yu-Gi-Oh you have a bunch of different types and attributes and archetypes and things, and some cards work with only their specific like archetype type card. So in Yu-Gi-Oh it's a lot easier to make a cube where it's like, I don't know how much you know about Yu-Gi-Oh, but where it's like all types and attributes are all types and attributes. So basically like every red card is always red. It's always red, black, blue, green. Everything's always the same color. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's different restrictions on colors. Whether like in Magic you can choose your lands. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you don't have to have a kind of resource like that to choose from. But so it's a little bit more restricting in that way. But my point is, we made like specific rules for like in the cube we have these sets of rules overarching on the cube. Do you have any rules that you put on your cubes? Any special rules, or do you just go like regular Magic?
So regular Magic. We currently have like 5 to 7 cubes in our Discord community. So each of them have a slightly different theme, but we still play by like normal Magic rules. So what's some of the favorites are the Artisan Cube, where almost all of the cards in the cube are common and uncommon. So it changes the power level of what you're playing with. We play with rare lands, which allows more multicolored decks, which is exciting. But having it be an Artisan Cube, it allows more viewers to join in because you need a lower number of wild cards and you only need commons and uncommons.
That's huge.
That's
smart.
That's a popular one. We have a Mardu Cube, which is only Mardu colors. That's fun. We have I call it the vanilla cube. There's no gold cards in the cube, but it is still a very powerful cube. And then we did have a gold cube. I'm actually, since Kaldheim has come out, I'm transitioning 2 cubes and kind of putting them together into what we're going to call a legendary cube. Yeah, featuring more legendary card types and stuff like that. One thing that I do, and I don't think there's any concern. We've talked about this for 2 weeks now since Kaldheim has come out, since snow has become a thing in Magic again. The ability to add as many snow basics to your cube deck after cube deck drafting is a thing. So if you join and you draft with us on stream next week, let's say, at the end of a draft, you're allowed to put in as many snow basics as you want. Since the addition of Kaldheim cards, there's some sweet snow cards you can put into your deck. And with Lizard in chat did !snow because it's a command, which is a little bit different because, as you know, with Kaldheim, if you're playing limited, you are only allowed to play the snowlands that you pick up in the draft. But we found that in the cube draft, you're not crazy unbalancing. Is that even a word? Making you're not like throwing off the balance of the cube by adding X number of basics. So we've decided you can add as many snow basics. Oh, here's another cube. For the early access, we were #sponsored, whatever hashtag that Wizards makes us say, for the early access event this past week, and I had built a cube for the early access, so we could cube it with viewers, and then one other early access participant who had VIP status could take a deck from the viewers, and we could battle them together. This gave us a view of the Kaldheim cards, but I didn't have to make 10 standard decks and not sleep on Tuesday night and, stress out about, all that stuff. And it was still a really fun experience because viewers were allowed to cube draft and build decks. They couldn't play them because they didn't have the VIP status account, but they could still build them, and then we would grab decks to play them. So that was fun.
That was a great idea to have the VIP access and actually cube it. I've never heard of that before. It was a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. It was a success too, so I'm gonna continue that. The past early access events I've participated in, I've always built a lot of off meta decks, just because that's when I started streaming. That was what I was known for. Actually, even throughout my whole Magic career, that's kind of what I'm known for, is doing things a little bit differently. Kyler's bringing this 5-color deck to States again, or Kyler's playing Norrin the Wary at Modern. Like, what is he doing? He's playing Through the Breach Emrakul, and he sides into Twin? What is he doing? Like, that no joke. These are things. And so when I started streaming, that was like what everybody really enjoyed, is slightly off meta decks. And that's what I prided myself in. But around August, I did this whole cube shift, and it's a blessing and a curse, because when you change, we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast, when you change what you do, whether it's a game that you're playing on stream or it's what you do as a creator on stream, it's a little bit tough to maintain or grow the stream from that point. So you plateau a little bit. And so since August, I feel like it's been a plateau, and I'm hoping it'll, hit that upward trend again that I was seeing throughout the first year and a half of streaming. The twist I made was, instead of grinding basically nonstop arena 6 hours a day, even on days that I wasn't streaming, and building these decks that were competitive, I would consistently hit like Mythic or top 1200 with these off meta decks, and bringing them to my community, I decided to just cube. And so it took a huge, tremendous amount of weight off of my life, mental capacity and time and all sorts of things. And it was a slow transition to get everybody on the same level of cube excitement as I was. But they're there. We're good now. And so now I need to show all of the new people who play Arena that there's more ways to play Arena than just, standard constructed or historic constructed or limited. You can actually play for fun and with no entry fee, no prizes, but you are going to better yourself as a Magic player, which isn't that what we're trying to do? Like, get better at the game?
Yeah, so. If you like Magic, you want to get better, you want to have fun, what other place to get better and have fun at the same time, with even with your Artisan cube, where you don't have to use any wild cards, you have the cards already. So you don't have to have that investment, that burden on yourself. I need this 6 wild cards to make this deck. You can make your deck for basically free, just free to play arena. You can have fun and you can get better at Magic all at the same time. That's like a huge like plus for people that want to get into Magic, especially for the first time. Oh, Standard has so many rare wild cards I need to get for arena. Is there anything else I can do? Because I'm losing a lot or something like that. But you can get better without going through that route. There's other ways you can do it, which I really like. We found a definition of cube, so we are going to read it. Apparently, the definition of a cube is, and I quote, a particularly popular one, and it's called cube because the cards are stored in a box before drafting. Another theory,
I can see that because it's like a cube shape. Sure.
Yeah. Is that because a cube's shape has 8 corners, and most MTG cubes are built for up to 8 players.
Yeah, I like that one too.
There's another one too. Mark Rosewater's response to the question, "Why is it called a cube?" is, quote, "I believe the first box was kept in was a cube." So it's weird how certain names come into place. Like it's called a cube because it was just stored in a cube.
And it's interesting too because if you ever played and you have like piles of Magic cards lying around, most of the time your piles of Magic cards are put in rectangular prisms. They are boxes that are rectangular prisms. Not many people have cube boxes lying around. So
no, definitely not me. Okay, show of hands in chat. Who stores their cards in a square cube? Okay, that's nobody. Yeah, that's nobody.
Shape.
In a cube shape. Yeah, that's absolutely nobody. Yeah. It's crickets in chat. But I do want to ask you. We talked a little bit about social media, about you being on Twitter. Do you have what is your presence on Twitter? Do people like cubing on Twitter, or do you have a Twitter community that is kind of involved in cubing? What about Instagram? What about YouTube or any of these other social media platforms that you might be on? Talk about those.
Yeah. So, geez. So I've gone in and out of my social media life, I would say. So right now I mostly do Twitter, and I'm pretty active on Twitter. That really started when I started streaming. I had an account already, but I never really used it. So my Twitter presence was very small. So I've actually been growing my Twitter presence at the same time as streaming. I would say, just in general, the people who know what Cube is are people who don't play Arena, and then the people who are starting and playing Arena don't know what Cube is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this weird group that I'm trying to pull from to actually enjoy and watch the stream. On Twitter, there's a very active Cube community, but they all play Magic Online. Not many of them had transferred over to Magic Arena yet.
Mm-hmm.
And come on, man, you got to do it. It's definitely the future. And so going to social media, yes, I'm very active in Twitter, mostly Magic related, but all sorts of nonsense on Twitter. The YouTube has actually just started. Good question. It started January 1st, I believe, this year.
Congrats for starting it.
Yeah, thank you. I did it because what we were doing was mostly Cube, and now these Cube challenges where I get lots of other streamers and people involved, and it was fairly easy to make clips and upload to YouTube. So honestly, I have no idea how you get that channel, but I'm sure if you just Google Rats Relyk or Kyler Starr YouTube, you'll probably find it. Or the easier way to go is to go to my Twitch and then go to the linked YouTube link. But those videos are mostly Cube, and it's a good tool if you want to learn how to Cube before actually jumping in. We play a lot of Cube on there. So that's just starting. I'm excited for YouTube. I think that's a fun platform to get on. I never started a YouTube because, well, it's a lot of work to start streaming. It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of time. And so I never put the energy into YouTube because I just saw it as it's just going to suck all my time, and I'm not gonna.
It's a lot of time and effort. A lot of time and
Yeah,
effort.
exactly. So, also for all of you who do go to my YouTube and watch the videos, they are pretty rough cut videos from Twitch. Just so you know, I don't have a background in, you know, video editing or anything. So,
And
um,
even before even before you like were having a presence on Twitter or had a presence on YouTube, or even before you started cubing in general, talk about what you did with Brawliseum. Talk about
oh
Brawliseum.
God. So yeah, so so many of your questions kind of relate back to this central theme of community. Um, since I threw away any hopes and dreams of playing competitively at the MPL, but before that it was called the Pro Tour and all of that, I got fairly close to my shot in 2012, but then we went away from that. And I think settling down, buying a house, getting married, and not traveling to GPs and all over the place, allowed me, and it wasn't let me, but it allowed me to let go of that pro dream, which almost every Magic player has that hope or that goal or that dream to play at the pro level. Why not? I mean, you just want to get better, and like, of course, you want to
Mm-hmm.
play at that level. So when I started streaming, I still had that in mind a little bit, but I quickly threw that away because the streaming community and the community that I developed through streaming was such this awesome group, and we just wanted to get better at Magic together. And so you can battle each other, you can beat the crap out of your friend playing Magic, but the goal is to get better. So even if you're losing on the losing end of that, what you can do is you go back and watch the VOD, find your mistakes, get better at it, right? And improve. And that was the community that we kind of cultivated. So the Proliseum was our format before Cube. And so how do I even describe it? Lizard in chat, feel free to throw your thoughts on it in there. So what happened was every 6 weeks or so, I would give out the rules for the Brawliseum. And so I had written down a special format, let's say. So here's an example. You're only allowed to play enchantments and lands as your permanent types. You can play instants and sorceries, sure, that's fine, but you're only allowed to play enchantments as lands as your permanent types. Go build a deck, and then every week we play against each other to hopefully, have the most wins at the end of the season. And you could change your deck each week, that's fine. There would be a small meta that would develop because, since what was that set? Ravnica Alliance?
Ravnica Allegiance?
Yeah, thank you. Allegiance with all the enchantment themes, and then Theros, you could play enchantment creatures because they were enchantments. So there was a couple workarounds, right? And I set up these rules with very much like math, lawyer, magic rules in mind. So if you read it, that's kind of how it should be played out. And we had like, I don't know, 10, 12 seasons of these.
Wow.
Where every season would change. One season we played what's called quote unquote tiny leaders. So a lot of the times it would be a brawl format. And so your commander, your brawl commander had to have commander mana cost 3 or less. And then every card in your deck had to have commander mana cost 3 or less.
Wow.
And then we did another one of those where we flipped it and changed it so your commander had to have like CMC 5 or more, and you could only play like, yeah. So you get the idea. So every Brawliseum, the rules changed, and this was kind of our little community to get better at the game. And this leads into how to get better at the game. I think one way to get better at the game is not playing the same deck over and over and over again. You can get good at that deck and you can win tournaments. Yes. Can you develop a better idea of the game or become a better player? by only playing the same deck over and over again, well, you can become a better player and learn how to play your deck really well,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to struggle when you're playing decks that aren't the other 4 decks that you're used to playing against, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. You can learn
Yeah,
little interactions with other decks that come out within your deck, and then your deck becomes like autopilot mode. But you can always learn different other things. But you never have to like really turn your brain on again after a while with a different deck.
exactly. And so when we would come in and play like Titan's Nest with Geruda and stuff like this,
Yes.
and someone sits down across from you and they're like doing something, and then you respond using Titan's Nest and they're confused, you can cheese so many wins just because players don't read, or, they're not understanding the interactions. So in our community, the idea was to get better and find those interactions before you find them in a competitive situation, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get better at the game by playing, and this is the same thing as Cube. You play Cube to find those interactions you're not used to finding, which really just kind of makes you better as a Magic player. It also slows you down and makes you read more. A lot of new players are too fast and they just don't read and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Brawliseum was a great format. Missed that format. RIP Brawliseum.
That's awesome. I can just see with the Brawliseum with the commander being CMC 3 or less, I could just see all the Lurrus decks I could make. And
Yeah,
just
we also banned. Yeah, so there was a couple seasons, actually many seasons. I would choose like 3 or 4 cards that I thought would probably be broken, and I would just ban them right before we began. Uro was one of them,
mm-hmm.
and Nico Bolas came up quite often because that card just ended up being such a powerful commander. Yeah.
Was it the 4 mana creature Nico Bolas, or was it the 5 mana planeswalker Nico Bolas?
It was the 5 mana planeswalker, and I can tell you why. So it was the Brawliseum where your commander had to be CMC 5 or greater, and because of that, Nico Bolas, since it comes out on turn 5 and then just kind of chokeholds your opponent slowly, it was just too powerful. There was one Brawliseum where we didn't play blue cards. That was fun.
Wow.
You just couldn't play blue, and so then everyone builds their deck and sees what happens. And
Can you imagine Covert Go Blue being in that you can't play blue cards one? He's like
can't play
in
blue.
love with in love with blue, right? He's just a control player at its core. If I don't think he would ever have fun in a tournament that you couldn't play blue. But I know in the podcast that I had with Alias V, she really likes Boros colors, and the thing she hates the most is her spells getting countered. So I think because she hated the most for her spells to be countered, that would be something that she would love to play in, and maybe people. And big shout out for the people that don't like playing against blue decks. I don't really like playing against blue decks either, but that's definitely a Brawliseum or Cube that you want to be a part of. Has anyone not? Okay, it was impossible to get your spell countered. Who would want to play in that? Like everybody, you can't get your spell countered. You have to play in that.
Yeah, and that's a big one. One of the Brawliseums, like everyone was very excited. We were deciding on what color to cut. And of course it was blue. Everyone wanted to cut blue. Also, the Mardu cube, obviously there's no blue cards in that because it's Mardu. But with Kaldheim, you can play 1 counterspell now.
Oh no!
And I have updated all the cubes with these Kaldheim cards, and of course we're gonna put the trickery in there. Why not?
Yeah. you have to. If you don't, like. You gotta have the other card too. What's the double white spell that just came out that you can exile something and your opponent just puts a permanent from their hand on the battlefield?
Yeah, the Gambit.
Yes. You gotta have that in there.
Such a risky card, but that'll be exciting. I'll give Booster a shout out because in chat he's saying my 3737. So in the last Cube Challenge, which was last Sunday, the 24th of January, Booster was participating in this, and he had Ozolith, the artifact
I
no one
love that.
really
I
ever
love that card.
plays, and Branching Evolution, which is this enchantment that says whenever you put counters on a creature, double the number of counters. And he
Wow.
got this creature. It was like a Hydra early on, maybe turn 4, with some counters on it, and the opponent kept killing the creatures, but the counters would just go to the Ozolith,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would play another creature, and then the Ozolith would move the counters to the creature, but the Branching Evolution would double it, and then the
Yep.
creature would die, go back to the Ozolith, and then double it again. And so
Oh no.
it didn't even need to be a fancy creature. It was just any creature. It would just be huge.
I had a
Um,
Selesnya a Selesnya counters deck that played the Ozolith recently, a couple weeks ago, and
mhm.
I love the Ozolith. Such a good card.
Yeah. If you can make it work, I think it is, yeah, really powerful. Um, and, and last thing on the cube challenges are a good spot for people who want that competitive edge. We've had Lord Tupperware, Alias, Legend VD was on there. A lot of these well-known streamers who also play limited, battling it out. Right now, one of our very well-known popular streamers, not in this country, but in South America, is After Office TTV. And he's been participating in his channels exclusively Spanish, but he still joins us, and I have these Discord groups set up for each pod, and he's been making it through to the final pod each time and getting that invite back, which is exciting. So it gives you that element. I've had a couple of viewers compete that don't stream, and that's okay because I want everyone to be involved. And they love the chance to take down one of these streamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that gives them, that incentive. Um, they're a lot of fun, and that's what my biggest plug would be. Join one of the cube challenges. They're a blast.
I'd love to join one of them one of these days.
Good. We'll get you on one. We'll get you on the next one. It's on Super Bowl Sunday though, so I don't know about that one. Maybe we'll skip that one for you.
I got to go to the next one. I love my football. I'll catch the next one. Well, you've talked a little bit about your history of playing Magic and how it began. How old were you when you started playing Magic? And talk a little bit about your Magic beginnings.
Yeah, so I was in 7th grade in high school, whatever age that is, maybe 14 or so. And I had a couple friends that were just like a year older than me. And one of them, said, you got to check out this game. This is really fun. And so he taught me. I mean, he didn't teach me. He just wanted to beat me up as a friend playing the game that he knew how to play and I didn't know how to play. But it got me hooked, and I bought my first box of Magic cards for like $10. It was a rectangular prism box, let's be clear.
Not a cube.
And from one of my other friends, and I just, always enjoyed games. Big shout out to mom and dad. We were a game family. We played cards. We played, all sorts of board games, and I just love playing games. Any game really. And so I grew up playing games, and that was where I could take my strategy brain and, use it. And so Magic came along, and holy crap, like Magic is just the ultimate game. If you want a game where the design space and the possibilities are basically endless, it's perfect. So I continued to play it in high school. Obviously, girlfriends at the time took over time, depending on where I was in life. But I never completely left Magic. And so here I am streaming it. In the early college years, I would travel like an hour to my best friend Bobby's house. He had this apartment. It was early college days, so I don't think everything that I did was acceptable, but we would travel with like a pile of KFC, get no sleep the night before, and then play in this like I'll put quotes around it. It was a vintage tournament, basically. It was just a casual tournament that was $3.50 at this local game store. And that's where I kind of learned so much Magic, really. I also learned just so much Magic by playing in an environment that was basically unrestricted. Play any card you want.
Mm-hmm.
The people playing at the game store weren't particularly good. I mean, we were all fine in our own levels, but no one was bringing like the top deck. And
Mm-hmm.
the store owner would just like ban a deck out of nowhere. He was kind of an ass. He would just like ban a deck if he thought it was too good. And so so that was kind of my Magic growth. Not until like I went into grad school and moved to Burlington in Vermont that I start playing in more competitive environments like Grand Prix and stuff like that. And everything along my path has had good elements added to it. So the competitive Grand Prix aspect of my career was amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I loved traveling for 6 hours on a Thursday afternoon to go to, I don't know, Philadelphia or something
Mm-hmm.
for some Grand Prix with 2,000 people. We'd get like a Airbnb or a hotel room, get 4 guys. Maybe we had
Or
a
7.
female friend in there. Yeah, or 7 stuffed into a room, eating terrible food. That was the hard one. In the beginning, we ate terrible food, but as we progressed in our Grand Prix journey, we would learn that you should eat a good breakfast or you can't survive 9 hours of Magic
Mm-hmm.
in a row.
And sleep the night before.
So,
It's a big one.
and sleep.
Actually
Yeah.
sleep.
So that was fantastic. I made it to like a TCG 50K invitational in 2013. And a great story is my good friend and I were both got this invite, and we had to. It's Burlington is such a small town. We had to get a connecting flight to go to Ohio, and so we go to DC as our connecting flight. We have, I swear to God, we had 1 beer, but we miss our connecting flight, and we had to sleep under the chairs
Oh no.
in the airport.
Oh no.
We get our flight at 7 a.m. the next day to go to Columbus. And we land and we go straight to the venue. We don't even go to the hotel room. We go straight to the venue because we got to hit check-in and hit round 1.
Mm-hmm. You're already late.
We're already late. Yeah, so we go, we check in, we make round 1 barely. But I'm playing a slow deck. And so we aren't able to get to the hotel until like after round 3. We're gross.
Oh,
We slept
no.
in the airport the night before. Like, this is your typical like Magic player you would expect to see in person. But typical me, I was playing Maze's End. I brought Maze's End
That's something I would do.
to this 50K invitational.
That's something I would do.
Yeah, I just loved it. And so many, of those memories and good experiences came from Grand Prix. Being able to play at a competitive level is so important for a Magic player, and a lot of people coming in as new players don't have that right away, and it's hard to develop that in Arena. I love Arena. I think Arena's amazing, but it is hard to develop that competitive like tournament competitiveness. Yeah, environment.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. In Arena. So bring it back to Cube again, or literally any tournament that you might play with your viewers or in your community helps them grow. And I put them right out there. Like, I'll cast the games on the screen, and you got to kind of learn from your mistakes, live with it. And I think that was huge for me, just going to Grand Prix and all the experience you get there. A good Grand Prix story is I took Through the Breach Emrakul to this Grand Prix. And if you guys don't know in chat or listening, Through the Breach costs 5 mana, and it's a red instant, and it says put a creature from your hand into play. It gains haste, and at the end of turn, sacrifice it. So for 5 mana in Modern, one of the best creatures you can put in is Emrakul, 15/15, Annihilator 6, and
Don't
flying and
don't get hit by
protection
that
from
thing.
yeah, like everything. And so my deck was just this is it deck that I would just kind of durdle until turn 5 and just try and smash and win. And what I loved about playing in person is you can look at each other and kind of get a sense of what your opponent's sideboarding maybe. And I would take my sideboard and just shuffle it right into my deck and then go through and pull out my cards. And the reason why I was doing that was because I actually had a 14 card sideboard. Only one card really mattered. Every time I would play, I would swap my combo pieces out and put in Splinter Twin and the combos that went with Splinter Twin, which was like Pestamite. And if you think about it, it's a perfect transition.
Yeah.
Because Emrakul has protection from instants and sorceries, so your opponents can't target it. The biggest concern for Splinter Twin is an instant like Abrupt Decay killing your Pestamite before you put Twin on it. But your opponent in game 2 is going to side all of those instants out because you're playing through the Reach Emrakul.
So it's so perfect.
You already have the combo shell built. You're like durdling, counter, draw, burn things. I loved it. I ended up in 10th place on Breakers. Oh, it was so rough.
I can still see the disdain in your heart about that, about the 10th on Breakers. I can see it from here. I can sense it.
Yeah. It's tough. So I don't even know what your first question was. Magic Journey.
It's okay. I actually had one of those experiences as well. I was 2-2 at a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, very competitive tournament called a YCS, which stands for Yu-Gi-Oh Championship Series. And if you get three losses, you can't make top cut. You can go 2 losses, and it was like 13 rounds or something like that. So you can go like 11-2, and you can still make top cut. Well, I was 2-2 after round 4, and I was like, well, I guess I got to win out the entire thing. And after 8 rounds, it goes to day 2, and you play 3 rounds in day 2. So on day 1, I go 2-2 in the first 4 rounds, and I'm like, okay, I got to win out. So round 5, I win. Round 6, I win. I win again in round 7, and then round 8, I win again. So I'm like, I'm on the win out plan, and I'm like, I got this. And you can make top cut if you are what's called X21, which means however many wins you need plus how many losses and how many draws you have. So you can technically get into the top cut by having 2 losses and 1 draw. So I won all my rest of my rounds in the first day. The second day, the first round of day 2, I win. All right, so I'm still winning. I'm still in. Second round of day 2, I win again.
I made a face because I know where this is going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, second round, day 2, I win again. So now all I have to do is win this last round after having to win the rest of my matches all the way from back till the day before on round 4. I have to win this one, and I'm into top cut. I draw with the person. And there's no intention.
Because you're like, well, I can get a draw, right?
There's no intentional draws in Yu-Gi-Oh! It was an actual draw.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, it was an actual draw?
Yes, it was an actual draw.
Okay.
What happens when you go into the time procedures and you're at the same amount of life points? It's a draw. Or if you win game 1 and your opponent wins game 2 during time, like if game 2 goes into time, then it's a draw because you don't get to play game 3. So what happened is that I had to play to my outs. And my opponent only had to have 1 card in their entire deck that could make it a draw, or else I had to win. And they drew a card, and it's a card called Regeki. Very, very popular Yu-Gi-Oh card, and it says, destroy all your opponent's monsters. And no one played this card. It's not a competitively good card. It was banned for a long time, but it's not competitive anymore. And he drew it and played it, and I was like taken aback for a second. Who plays that card? Nobody plays that card. And it turned out he was playing 40, the max deck size is 40 cards. He was playing 41 cards because he just wanted to play his favorite card, Regeki. And that's the card that made it a draw in the first place. Guess what
Jeez.
happened? I
He
missed
got
I missed top cut by two spaces, and he made it into the top cut, and we both had the same record because we
oh,
drew. It felt
oh,
so
that's
bad.
rough.
But I have
That's
quite a few top cuts in Yu-Gi-Oh, but that was one of the ones that like stings my heart. I'm like, we both could have got in, but he got in and I didn't, and it was like a four person gap, and I ended up being like the worst breakers than him off of a card
yeah.
that no one plays that he happened to draw for turn as his 41st card in his deck. So it was like the salty pickle, like you say. Like, oh my gosh, no,
Yeah.
that never happens. But the thing is about playing Magic, and works for any card game, is that you have to pick up that experience and say, I'm going to do better next time, or maybe I saw this mistake that I did back in round 3 when I lost, and if I didn't do that, if I did that differently, then we wouldn't even be in this position, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
if you can kind of have that kind of mindset, like a winner's mindset, like instead of a defeatist mindset, have a mindset of what could I have done differently? Because there's a lot of times in Magic or in anything in life where you can it's easy to shift the blame. It's easy to say they
Yeah.
top decked better than me, or
Yeah.
they got so lucky. I can't believe like how lucky they just got. Did you see? I drew 2 lands in a row, and they just drew whatever off the top. And it's easy to say that, but it's harder to kind of change your perspective to what could I have done differently. And that's
Yeah.
kind of something that I had a hurdle that I kind of had to like kind of overcome. Have you experienced anything like that?
Absolutely. It was a little earlier on for me. I overcame that quick. Not maybe not quick, but it was earlier on in my journey that I overcame that, which I'm glad because I think a lot of players don't. It takes a long time to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
And I actively like in my stream community, I try and teach people, you know, the way you should think about the game. Like, what are you trying to get out of it? Are you just playing just because you're bored? Are you actually like someone who loves games and you want to better yourself? You want to make your brain bigger, right? You're trying to. Um, it's more of a game against yourself. You're trying to get better at something. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking a loss and being all salty about it, take that loss and pause, reflect on your match. Don't just hit play again. Maybe you will. Okay, fine. Reflect on it and think like, what could I have done differently? That's so important in learning and teaching. I mean, I'm a teacher, so when we're doing math, I really tell them, you do a problem, you get it wrong, go back. Like you should, before you click submit, go back and check each step. And yeah, same thing. I never was doing most of these tournaments by myself, so I always had my team with me that would grind the crap out of me when I made a mistake and they were watching. I became known with this meme of the "Is it charm?"
I
So
love Is It
it's
Charm.
still playing the same Is It deck. Yeah, Is It charm's great. It's got 3 different
It
modes. The
does everything.
flexibility's there, and so we're like at this really tight spot, and I'm casting through the breach, and my opponent's countering it, and I'm looking at this complicated board where I'm at like 4 life, and my opponent's putting a lot of pressure on, and I have Is It Chime in my hand, and the easy line is counter the spell and win the game. That's the easy line.
Oh no.
But I'm looking at this complicated board and I'm like, all right, if I use Is It Charm to kill that creature, I won't die on the crackback. If they have Lightning Bolt, and then the next turn I can try and win, like I'm thinking out this crazy
Mm-hmm.
process. And I have 2 of my friends kind of like around the table because this is at this Grand Prix, there's people around, and I'm just like thinking through all this, and I go, okay, all right, counter your spell. And then like we go through the sequence, and luckily I win that match. And 2 of my friends come over and they grab me on the shoulder. So like, Reed, Is It Charm?
Oh
What are you
no.
doing?
It's counter unless they pay 1, right?
Yeah, two. So I could counter a instant or sorcery unless they paid 2, or I could deal 2 damage to a creature. And so I ended up dealing 2 damage to a creature to not die the next turn. But if I had countered their spell, I could have won the game right
Yeah,
there.
you just win right there. Yeah. So if you would have lost that, you could look back at your match and say, and you could be like, oh, well they had this and this and this, and I made the right play, but you could look back at it also and say, oh wait, oh crap, I
Yeah,
could have
like
just countered that. Yeah, right.
yeah.
And it
And
so
I love, yeah, with like current limited in Kaldheim and any draft format, I think it's extremely important to think about your previous plays more so than standard, because a kill spell that you might use earlier on in the game uh, could, stop your opponent from playing the best card in their deck if you had just held it a little bit longer. Like, how long can you hold that card and survive a couple damage in the beginning of the game versus, killing it right away? And evaluating those lines, like as you're playing, it is challenging. And hindsight is 2020. Like, you go back and you're like, oh, okay, that's the right line. And instead of thinking of it as, well, I'm looking back at it now, and obviously that's the right line, and saying, whatever, I lost. Take that and be like, oh, okay, that's the right line. So let me remember that. Let me repeat it to myself. And if I ever get in that situation again, I should think about,
mm-hmm.
that situation that happened.
That's something that
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in my stream, when they see me play Magic, like the most, is that I don't just play my games. I talk about what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So when I talk about what I'm thinking, I say things like, okay, I have an even creature on the board right now. I need to play an odd creature on this turn, even though it's not as good as this other even creature in my hand. It's a Kazandu Mammoth, and it's not a questing beast. But since I already have Scavenging Ooze on the board, I shouldn't play the questing beast. I should play the Kazandu Mammoth, because what if they have Extinction Event? Then I don't lose my entire board. And then, like, 7 turns down the line, they end up playing the Extinction Event. And I'm like, see, I knew they had that the whole game, but they didn't. But I gave my chat the opportunity to hear my thoughts about that one specific thing. And there's a lot of people that are very appreciative of that. Oh, James, you made me a better player because you tell me what you think about, and now I think about these things. That's something that I'm passionate about too, is teaching people what to think about, or what line. Even though I'm not the best player ever, at least they know what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
And there's some streamers, I can't even think of off the top of my head, but will just make a play, even if it's a really good play, but their audience might not learn as much. I'm very, very passionate about having my audience learn as much as possible and get better as a player because they're watching me. I think that's really, really like a kind of core
I'm right
about me.
there. Yeah, I agree, James. I think that's extremely important. But not just important. Think about all the viewers. Like, if you're a viewer and you're watching a pro level player and they're sitting there, excuse me, Huey Jensen, I love you, buddy, but you don't tell me anything, and you're not that attractive to look at. I'm sorry. And so, like,
If you wore
if,
glasses.
yeah, you got to wear glasses. If you're a viewer and, like, you have to think to yourself, why am I watching this stream? Whatever it is. For me, when I watch streams, I like to be entertained. I like to see something funny, or I like to get better at the game. And if I'm watching a pro player play a game, or any streamer, it doesn't have to be a pro player, play a game, but they're not telling me what they're doing, like, what's the point? Like, sure, you're amazing and I can watch you win, but I need to know what's going on in your head, not just what's going on the board, because I won't make the same plays. Like, I need that. So I totally agree with you. I think that's important. And Nerdy Steve in the chat here is joking about it, because I'm the same way. I just nonstop drone on about what my plays are and what could happen. And I do have one other good story about a tournament. Story time with Rats. This is going to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
When this tournament, so this was states in 2013. I ended up winning states back to back. Now we have a very little state, Vermont. It's super tiny, but I won states back to back, and the second time was with a 5-color deck, 5-color pile. It was amazing. Please, everyone in chat, go Google Kyler Starr states. That's all you need, and you'll find the deck list. and it's 5 colors, and like, come on, man, you're playing 5 colors. What is this nonsense? And I was playing. It was the era of Standard where Domri was a thing, and Luxodon Smiter and Stormbreath Dragon. These were the cards. Stormbreath Dragon's a big one, people know. And I just played any creature that was good, and Llanowar Elves and all sorts of things, because we had Shocklands at the time, and I just jammed it all. And I made it into the top 8, and uh, this was a friend. Let me just start by saying what I did next. This was a friend, and I was playing in the top 8, and I played against a friend of mine round 1, and he was playing mono red. And mono red during that standard had an enchantment that said whenever a player taps a non-basic land, Burning Earth, this card, deals 1 damage to them.
Wow.
Okay, that was a phenomenal card against my deck. 5 colors,
no basics.
Shocklands, yeah, like hurting myself. So game 1, he, it's mono red, so he just like crushes me. Game 2, I sideboard in some of my life gain, and we're in the middle of game 2, and I'm about to win. The game's almost over, and I look at him, and I just kind of look into his eyes, and I don't care what he says. I just want to get his reaction, and then I want to talk to him after the game. And I say to him, because I had mana dorks on the board, I had a lot of mana dorks to give me the mana I need, and I said, "Man, Burning Earth is really bad here, isn't it?" And I saw him just like look down at his hand just briefly, and that was that. I won game 2, and then I ended up winning game 3. And so I asked him right after the match, I was like, "So I really need to know, did you side out Burning Earth for game 3?" And he said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
He side out Burning Earth for game 3.
Wow.
And I was like, yes.
Burning Earth is terrible against me, isn't it? I have 3 Llanowar Elves on board.
Yeah.
That's a great story. That's another thing about Magic, though, the mind games in paper Magic as opposed to arena Magic.
And this must have been a lucky day, because, and this story has 2 elements to it, because I'm in the finals here, and this poor player, we didn't see play anymore afterwards, so I feel bad for him. We must have shamed him too bad. But we didn't shame him. He did it to himself, I guess. So we're in the finals, game 1. He thought seizes me. I show him my hand. This is turn 1, his turn. He thought seizes me. I show him my hand. I'm playing just 5-color good stuff, a lot of creatures, including Luxodon Smiter. And he writes it all down like you should. And he looks him over, and he goes, this one. Or he says Luxodon Smiter. He didn't point. He says Luxodon Smiter. And I said, okay, this one? And I like point to it. And he goes, uh-huh. And I said, okay. Now, if any of you know Luxodon Smiter, it's a 4/4, and if it becomes discarded by your opponent, you get to put it into play.
Ooh.
So it was the best card in my hand at the time, but he chose, like, what? So I was like, okay, trigger, put it into play. It's not even, I haven't even played a land. I have a 4/4.
Oh, no. And he'd already lost 2 life from the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, he loses 2 life from the Thoughtseize on top of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, game 1 was quick and cleaned it up.
Needless to say, game 1 was pretty quick. Never saw him again, but I wonder why. That's funny. Well, we are about to wrap up. It's been amazing hanging out with you, Rats Relyk, Cairo Star backwards.
Yeah, thank you.
Let us all know, how do we find you on social media?
So the easiest spot is just like under my image here, Rats Relyk with the underscore there, on Twitter and on Twitch. So on Twitter at Rats Relyk, and on Twitch, Rats Relyk, just like that. You can't find me on Facebook. I've locked that account up. I don't use it that much anyway. And you can also find me on YouTube. Just Google Rats Relyk. You'll find it. We have a pretty good Discord as well if you want to just have entertainment and fun and get better at the game. The goal is inclusivity and, helping each other get better. And you can find the Discord through the Twitch channel.
Two last things I want to talk about. I want to talk about your Discord, because that's a huge part about your community that we haven't talked about yet. As we come to a close, just a really quick,
Yeah.
What has gone into your Discord? Why did you want to make it the quote unquote best Discord on Twitch? And why is it so amazing in your Discord?
So yeah, so I started a Discord right around when all streamers were like, "Oh, we have to do this thing. We have to start a Discord," and I did that as well. And I'm glad I did. I think Discord can be overwhelming for so many people because there's so many different groups you can be a part of, and there's always a notification all the time. So I try to keep it limited in the number of notifications I send out to people, and the goal is to have a community. A lot of people that want to have fun, whether it's Magic or just you want to post food pics or cat pics or memes, and then Cube as well. I think if you cultivate a sense of community and general goodness, um, which is what I try and do on my stream, that will just show up in the Discord community. So it started with so many of the core group of followers. I gotta be honest, Lizard and Booster, it's way past your bedtime, guys, in the chat. They're from the UK and Finland. They're staying up so late to listen to this, but they're these core people that have been around for so long.
I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you, Booster and Lizard. You are amazing. You are amazing. You've been in here. They've been in here the entire time, and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning for them, probably.
Yeah, I have no idea. So just putting out like a good energy and a sense of community where you're trying to have fun and get better at the game of Magic together. That's kind of what's come into the Discord, and it's grown over the years. I'm very excited. I don't know how to make your Discord like a community or public, but I would love to have that someday. It's a great spot, and that's how I run all the cube challenges and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you once again. I do have one last question for you, and this is a divisive thing for the chat, and hopefully we can get some answers out of this, and hopefully you're not on the wrong side of chat. But and I say wrong because this is a clearly objective answer. Pancakes or waffles?
Well, this is a pretty easy answer for me. I got to be honest.
Oh no.
We never touched on this, but I actually really enjoy cooking. I'm the chef in the house. The wifey is gorgeous. She makes all the money and does all that stuff, but I do all the cooking. I mean, okay. I stream. Come on, we don't make money, but we like to have fun. So my choice is pancakes because I can make them.
Oh, no.
I don't know how to make waffles.
Oh, we have. Is this a pancake house? Oh my gosh, Lizard and Booster both said pancakes as well. Oh no. Okay.
And you know what's interesting? Lizard and Booster both said pancakes. We've never discussed this on stream.
Really?
So that's funny. Yeah, we've never discussed that. We do discuss like pineapple on pizza or coffee and tea in the morning. We do discuss those type of things. Never posed the question of pancakes or waffles.
I think pancakes or waffles is a big divisive thing. Like either you like one or the other, but no one talks about it.
Yeah. I like this now. We're definitely going to bring this up on Wednesday.
So waffles, they were created to hold this nice pockets of syrup. They're supposed to, it's like literally the syrup pancake. But I have to make this confession. I'm a pancake person too.
Ooh.
Yes.
I was about to say, all of you listeners, I was about to say that, James and I have this great chemistry. We're going along. And I said that, and I was thinking he was just going to, say, it's over, Rats, we're done. But that you threw me for a twist there. I'm excited.
Plot twist, pancakes are superior. The thing about waffles, as I mention this every time, is that waffles get very, very hard, crispy, super hard, really fast. And, like, they get staler faster. I've never had a stale pancake, but I've had tons of stale waffles. And that is the reason why pancakes are better than waffles. And no one else is right about this. But
and the wifey in the chat said she likes waffles better.
Oh no. Nope, can't have it. We can't have this. All right. Well, we are wrapped up here. Thank you once again so much Kyler Starr, Rats Relyk, for hanging out with us today. We enjoyed getting to know you, and I look forward to participating in some of your cubes in the future for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation and to participate on this stream podcast. It was amazing. I had a blast.
Awesome, perfect. And we will see you for the next Streamcast in 1 week.